Oh, hello. Thank you for your time. I'm Graciela Perez from Quanam, and I'm here with Ruben. I will talk about our experience implementing the GRP for the Uruguayan government. So first we'll start with a small introduction, then Ruben will explain a little more of the functionality, and then we will describe how a typical implementation project would be and the possibilities we see to collaborate with other partners or other governments. So a little bit of our background. Quanam is a company with more than 40 years of experience, more than 30 of them in what would be ERP, CRM implementations, and custom development solutions. We've work in more than 25 countries, mainly in Latin America, some in Europe, and the USA. So around 1996, we started working with ERP, CRM, HCM implementations, mainly for big companies, and at that time we were implementing PeopleSoft, GDLWare, and then Oracle. Around 2013, we decided to look for other type of solution, mainly open source solutions. And after analyzing a few solutions, we decided to for Odoo and to become Odoo partners. Around the same time, the Uruguayan government was looking for GRP solutions, and Quanam had a lot of experience working for the government, so we decided to adapt Odoo, and we presented to some bids and won one implementation for the foreign ministry. We implemented the first version of the GRP that was used for that ministry and was used for the more than 100 embassies and consulates around the world. Then, based on that solution, and other two projects we had for the health ministry and also for the work ministry, then we create the following version, a more general version of the GRP that was the base for what today is the GRP for the Uruguayan government. So when we talk about GRP, what are we talking about? Ruben will go over the modules and give you much more detail, but just to have a general context, is an adaptation we have built to adapt to government processes, where we took mainly most of the modules from the Odoo ERP, and we focus on the budgeting part. That's very important for governments because they plan for a 5-year budget, and then all their expenses and purchases have to be validated regarding that budget. So, based on that, we also adapted many of the modules, creating integrations with the centralized systems, and other details that Ruben will go over. If we look at the Uruguayan evolution of the GRP, one interesting thing is that the GRP became to be a reusable asset for the Uruguayan government. And after a few implementations, these were the first implementations we built, and also some other partners were part of that. The economy ministry created a governance committee and led the process to implement that solution in many other government organizations. So after the first ones, after it became a standard, then it was possible to do fast implementations in many other organizations. This slide was presented by the economy ministry in Uruguay in one of the events, and it was in 2019, but after that there were other projects. Quanam, that was the company that had the idea and implemented the first versions, is now one of the many implementers because there has been a selection of partners who can implement this solution, and Quanam is also implementing it and working also in the evolution of this product. So now Ruben will continue with more details about the solution.
Hello, my name is Ruben Alvarez, and as Graciela told you before, I'm going to tell you about the functionalities of the GRP. First of all, we have a lot of modules in GRP to manage the information in detail. Particularly in Uruguay, we have some central systems to be informed from GRP, which are the CIF, Integrated Financial Information System, the CISE. This is the Integrated State Purchasing System, where the citizens can see the purchases that the government has made along the year. And RUPE, this is Unique Registry of State Suppliers. Since to be a supplier to the Uruguayan state, you have to be registered on this system here in Uruguay. We have the modules from the GRP. We are going to see some of them in details, that budget, purchases, resources request, procurement planning, and contracts, for example. And some of them, I'm just going to tell you that they have functionalities really useful for the organization and in detail, like warehouses, fixed assets, accounts payable, accounts receivable, the whole accounting of Odoo, travel expenses and fund advances, which are modules to register the expenses of the members of the organizations in the state, and the treasury, which manages bank accounts and cash boxes. The first module we're going to see is the budget module. This allows us to manage the budget execution cycle. It's integrated with the procurement and purchases processes. This uses different stages to reflect the level of commitment in expenditure. As long as we move on in the process of procurement and we have more commitment with the supplier, we reflect this on this module. It's fully integrated with the CIF, the core system to manage the budget execution for the whole country. And this process starts with the creation of the budget. After that, we can load the expenditure provisions, and in the budget structure, this structure has budget accounts, programs, projects, sources of financing, uh, things like that. After that, the budget is updated, on expenditure with these provisions, and once we execute the budget from the procurement and accounts payable documents, that this is reflected in that structure. We use 7 stages to reflect that commitment that are mapped with the procurement process. These are authorization stage, which is reflected with the procurement, commitment stage, which is reflected with the contracts made with the suppliers. Once we have the bills, the invoices from the suppliers, we update the verification stage, and once we pay those invoices, we update the payment stage. Another module we use to plan is the procurement planning. This allows us to have a plan for the procurements of the year. It is fully integrated with the warehouse module, and the procurement plan is automatically generated when it is approved. It starts with the creation of that plan, and we have a decentralized demand registration. This is the users from the organization register their demands, and after that we consolidate that in a request plan, and which is authorized, and the system automatically checks if we have stock to fulfill those needs from the users. And after this is checked, we have the procurement plan updated, which reflects which are going to be the purchases we are going to make the next year in order to fulfill the needs from the users. Once the plan is authorized, it is confirmed and generated, and this plan is what we are going to use to compare with the purchases along the year. The resources request is a module which allows the users to request their needs in the system. They can register these resources, these requests of products and services. This is goods and services, and it generates an input for procurement in case we have to buy something, or for the warehouse in case we can deliver those goods to the user. This all this happens after an approval. uh, the process starts with the register of that resources request from the user, and the immediate superior approves those resources, that request or not. Um, After that, the system checks automatically if there is a stock. This is in case we are they requested goods, and in case we have stock, we can register the delivery of the resources and the need is satisfied. And in case we don't have stock, we can have a request, a purchase, or we can ask for a purchase order issuance in case we have a contract with any supplier. And after we have the products purchased delivered to us, we can deliver to the user and register that the need is satisfied. The module to reflect the procurement and process management is the procurement and process management module. It manages different documents which register, which reflect different stages from the process, and each one of them has an authorization process, and we have complete traceability of them. This means that when I have the purchase order, we can go and trace it back until the procurement document or the request resource in case we have one as an input. It is fully integrated with the budget execution, and as I said, it starts with the register of the procurement. This can be from scratch, or can be from a resource request that any user register. This procurement has an authorization, and once it is authorized, we update the authorization stage. We register the offers from the suppliers, the possible suppliers, and we have a comparison chart. And this adjudication document is the one that reflects the evaluation stage. This has an authorization also, and once we have the contracts with the suppliers, we update the commitment stage from the budget, and after that we can create a purchase order and send it to the supplier. Finally, we have the contracts and agreements module. This allows us to manage the supplier contracts in case we want to extend the functionality from the purchases. For example, if we want to manage renewals, extensions, and addendas, we can use this module. And for example, we can use it to manage price adjustment clauses in case we have purchases for more than a year, or things like that. It starts with the creation of a contract, with a general contract with all the information, and complete particular contracts, which has each of them has each item of the purchase. After that, we can confirm that contract and update the information of price adjustment clauses, withholdings, warranties, assignments, and stations. We have an expiration alert before the contract ends in case we have to make any renewal or extension. And finally, when the contract ends, we have to register a supplier evaluation in order to give them a grade for future contracts. So I leave you with Graciela now again.
So, how long will it take for a typical implementation project to be carried out? So in the first one, when we create the GRP, then we have a longer project, about the 12 months to 13 months until implementation, and around 15,000 hours because all the gaps were created for that project. But now, after we have come to a standard implementation and a standard solution that we call Express, then the project takes normally between 4 to 5 months and around 3,000 hours, mainly to train the user, to show them the product, to configure, to migrate all the information, and to test it. That implies that no gaps for those projects, and that's the last projects we have carried out and other partners with the Ministry of Economy for some governments are of that type. So what will it take now if we want to take this GRP and implement it in other governments? So what we believe is a lot of functionality can be reused, but we have to evaluate the specific norms and requirements and the integration with the central systems to adapt it to the specific requirements of other governments. So based on that, a country core could be generated. One interesting thing to review is if it's feasible to generate a general government core, for instance, by regions, could be for Latin America or for specific regions in Latin America, to optimize reuse. So, looking into the future, Uruguay is planning a version upgrade or a re-implementation project for next year probably, and also to release the GRP to the community. So it would be very interesting to analyze if there are other local partners or governments that are interested in reusing what has been built here, then to analyze that possibility and the possibility of creating a community where each one could collaborate on a general GRP version for our countries. Quanam would be delighted to participate and collaborate in that type of effort. So as a summary, we have a lot of experience creating solutions based on Odoo, specifically the GRP, but also some other solutions, and we are seeking for to build win-win relationships with other partners that might be interested. So now I'm open for questions or any other type of interactions you would like to have. Thanks a lot for your attention.
All right. Thank you very much, Graciela, Ruben, for this very nice introduction about this massive project, very long project as well, it looks like. We are very glad that you were able to share this testimony with us. And I may have a couple of questions about the project because, first of all, I'm trying to understand, because it's very challenging. Working with the public sector is not something that a lot of our partners, a lot of our clients do. And I'm asking you this question, what was the challenge working with the public sector in general? The challenges, yeah.
Okay, hello, thank you very much. The main challenge is about definitions and to get get the users to get to a common solution, because as we know, the regulation is only one, but when you have to implement it in one system, you have different ways of doing things. So that was mainly the main challenge. Another challenge is to maintain the definitions and the track and energy on the project a long time, because you have some changes in authorities, some changes in expenses. That sometimes they cut expenses, and you have to maintain some functionalities, and mainly those are the biggest challenges.
And so I believe you had somebody who were like an account manager for the whole. You were doing the project side, but you also had someone dedicated to understand all of the, trying to foresee the issue in the future because of that specific challenges, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Was it you, Gabriela, who were trying to do the relationship between the clients and the company?
Yes, I with the client, the company, and with the Ministry of Economy.
Of economy.
All this was led by the Economy Ministry, so we had to have a very, very strong relationship with them, and they were the ones who also were giving many of the definitions and trying to align different public organizations into the definition. That was very critical here, to have a central focus, or a central manager that would be looking for what would be useful for many of the ministries in Uruguay. So I think that's very important if we're going to replicate this in some other places. You can do it for each organization, but it's much better if you have someone or a government committee or something that would be looking at the different definitions and trying to align. So the solution, in this case, then can be reused. If not, each one wants their own version and not a unique solution. I think one of the most important things of this project was that it was possible to do something that would apply to any government organization in Uruguay. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest accomplishment.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. We have a question about, are you thinking on expanding to other countries? I mean, are you trying to reach out to different government and maybe other countries as well? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea, and that's why we presented it here.
Yeah.
And also, it's possible to reuse the Uruguayan government. We believe we have been talking with them, and if this could be something general, to not just to do it just for Uruguay, but to have something more general, and so we could contribute, and other countries could contribute to have something that would be in, at least in Latin America. There are many countries that are very similar the way they work. And we don't know everywhere in the world, but at least for Latin America, we know, and we have shown it, for instance, in Paraguay, and they were quite interested in the solution. And so what we would like is, if there are partners that have a relationship with other governments and want to pursue something like this, to contact us so we can work together and we can share the experience and collaborate.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. I have one more question. We have 2 minutes, and I think that will be for Ruben. What was the most complex modules you had to implement over this long project? The most complex one? Yeah.
I think that would be the purchases module, because of the regulations you have to comply. The law here in Uruguay establishes which is the procedure to make a procurement or a purchase, but there are a lot of functionalities to implement in that process, and you have different users, so that would be the most difficult module to implement.
Different users with different roles.
With different roles. You have,
Yeah.
yes, and sometimes it depending on the size of the organization, one user may have several roles, and that's really a challenge.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. We have one more. Yeah, budgeting. Yeah. You talk about
Yeah,
budget
no.
as well.
Yeah, another one is the budget module, because again, the regulation, and we have to manage that information for each organization, and again, the law is the same, but they manage
Compliance.
differently.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Gabriela, Ruben, for this presentation. If you guys on the chat want to discuss right away with Gabriela and Ruben, I'm gonna just post a link, and you can chat with them. So I really invite you to click on this link if you have more questions. I see that a couple of people had more questions, so definitely they are going to be available on the link I'm going to post below. Gabriela, Ruben, thank you very much for this talk, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
So we are here for questions.